Shabbat Shalom. After weeks of heightened tension and gripping fear, Joseph's brothers are standing in front of him. Judah is pleading for Benjamin's life, and they are begging for mercy. Joseph, in this week's Torah portion, Vayigash, can no longer maintain his ruse nor his composure. He orders the Egyptian entourage in the room to leave, and he announces, Ani Yosef, Ha'od Abichai, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? Imagine the shock, the sheer incredulity, the utter embarrassment of the brothers. One more time, Joseph declares in Hebrew, Ani Yosef Achicha, I am Joseph, your brother. How did he convince his brothers that he was indeed Joseph and not Zaphanet Panecha, the vice president of Egypt? The Midrash offers several provocative thoughts. While the brothers previously appeared before him, Joseph spoke through an interpreter. The brothers spoke their native Hebrew. Joseph, after receiving the translation, would respond in the Egyptian dialect of the day. But this time, when he spoke to them, he spoke in Hebrew. These 5 words uttered by Joseph, Ani Yosef Ha'od Avichai, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? He spoke in Hebrew. For Joseph, Hebrew was not a 3-credit course. It was not a foreign language. It was his Lashon HaKodesh, his holy tongue. It was his mother tongue. Joseph was not merely a sophisticated advisor in Egypt who had mastered a foreign language. He was speaking his language, the language of his father, the language of his father's father, the language that was suffused with the pain and the promise of his people, the language that was invested with the heartache and the heart's desires of people, the language that was vouchsafed to him as an inheritance, that would be the language of Torah. And even though Joseph had it all, he was vice president of Egypt, he was given a signet ring, an Egyptian wife, an Egyptian name, a carriage, Joseph never forgot where he came from. He never forgot his father. He never forgot the language of his youth. He was Jewish. He was proud. He was Jewish. He was proud. Deborah Lipstadt wrote this week, in Europe and in the United States, Jews have been repeatedly assaulted on the street. Tombstones were desecrated in Slovakia. In London, anti-Semitic graffiti was painted on synagogues and Jewish-owned stores. A Belgian daily newspaper accused a lawmaker who is Jewish of being a spy for Israel. A Polish town this week refused to install small brass plates that commemorate Holocaust victims. In Italy, the town of Schio did the same because the mayor said, quote, it would be divisive. The intolerance is coming from right-wing extremists, progressive leftists, and other minorities who themselves are often the object of persecution. Anti-Semites seem to think that it is open season on Jews, and maybe, given the many incidents, they are right. Add to that the worst Hanukkah in New York history, a summer camp in Canada, a school right here in Lake Zurich. Society is unfortunately littered with xenophobia, Islamophobia, homophobia, racism, and yes, anti-Semitism. As we all know, for many years, Jews have known that when visiting synagogues in Europe, they must bring their passport with them and expect to be interrogated by guards outside. Or we have to call ahead to let a synagogue know that we're coming. And that even that doesn't guarantee our entry. But the most disturbing news of the week, Deborah Lipstadt writes, is that a small synagogue in the Netherlands decided that they would stop publishing the time of their service on the website. They went underground. Jews have been living defensively for a long time. But when a synagogue, as a precaution, decides not to post the time of its services, we've reached a whole new level. Anti-Semitism should distress all Americans, all ethnicities, faiths, not only because it flies in the face of the American promise and the American ideals, but because the historical record is clear and unbroken. Every society that witnesses and tolerates anti-Semitism is itself on the brink of disaster. What starts with the Jews never, ever ends with the Jews. And conversely, what starts with other groups, the blacks or the immigrants or LGBTQ, never ends with those groups as well. That hatred always metastasizes to the Jews. That's why we must speak out. So I encourage you, I challenge you, and I plead with you to speak out. To speak out against this wave of Jew hatred to your family, to your friends on social media. Your voice means the world to all of us. Over 1 million people are expected in Manhattan on Sunday to cross the Brooklyn Bridge in a sign of solidarity in one of the largest gatherings in the world. The American Jewish Committee is calling for a day to publicize and proudly declare Jewish pride. On Monday, January 6th, they're asking all Jews across the USA to wear a kippah, or a Star of David, or a Hebrew letter, or some other identifiably Jewish item. These simple acts will be a powerful public display of solidarity with those Jews who cannot strip off their Jewishness, a demonstrable stand against those who seek to harm us. Deborah Lipstadt also wrote this week that for the very first time, she's wearing a Jewish star in public. She never felt the need to, she never needed to, she never had this desire to. But now, she's doing so. People are encouraged to put up mezuzahs on their homes. One newspaper ran a picture of a kippah as a cutout for everyone in the community to wear on their heads. Just as the Billings, Montana newspaper years ago published a menorah for everyone to put in their windows. What are we going to do? What am I going to do? What are you going to do? I have a friend who, when he moved into his house, wanted me to come over to put up his mezuzah. He laid out 4 or 5 different mezuzahs, and I said, which one do you want on the front door? And he said, I want the biggest one on the front door. I want everyone to know that I'm Jewish. Unfortunately, in today's world, that's not the rule, but the exception. Many people are going into hiding. They're going away from what they believe because they're nervous. So as the AJC commands or challenges, post a picture of your Jewish pride on social media with the hashtag #JewishAndProud. The sources of anti-Semitism are many, but so are the sources of goodwill. And it's the force of goodness that we need to mobilize to beat back hatred. All people of good conscience have an obligation to stand up and speak out against anti-Semitism. And all Jews have an obligation to be #JewishAndProud. When I read that, I went to Rosenblum's bookstore today, and I bought every Jewish star that they had. And they're in little boxes, and if you don't have one to wear on Monday, it's my gift to you. Speak Hebrew. Wear a Jewish star. Put up your mezuzah make sure that you stand up. Not just Monday, not just Sunday as over 1 million will gather in New York City, but every day. Be Jewish, be proud. Joseph could have been the most assimilated person in the world. He had it all. He rose in Pharaoh's legions to second in command. He had all of the trappings of being a good Egyptian. But when that moment came, he said those words in Hebrew, Ani Yosef, Ha'od Avichai. I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? Can we say those words today? Can we make sure that we are Jewish and proud every day? Can we make sure that the hatred stops with us? God, give me a quiet heart and help me to hear the still small voice that speaks within me. It calls me to come close to you and to grow into your likeness. It teaches me to do my work faithfully even when no one's eye is upon me. It counsels me to judge others kindly and to love them freely, for it persuades me to see divinity in every person I meet. Help me, O God, to come to the end of each day, feeling that I used its gifts wisely and faced all of its trials as bravely as I can. #proud, #Jewish.